I mean, I had been part of the business in the community movement for probably 25 years, almost from the start of that, when Prince Charles started it, and we started talking about corporate social responsibility, and people laughed at us. You know, we started to talk about how we would report on things, and all the big PLCs said, oh, we won't want to be doing that, that's not important. They saw it as a bit of a charity, and so if they could have lunch with Prince Charles, they gave him some big cheque. They used to call it the chairman's wife favourite charity, because occasionally you got to meet a member of the royalty, but they didn't take it seriously. And so I lived through that change over that 25 years. Now, if you go to the BITC annual awards in a few weeks' time, well, I have to say I'm pleased to say we're a finalist for one of the awards, the room is absolutely full of all of the blue chip companies. They vie and scrap and scratch to get the awards from BITC. So, you know, Marks and Spencer's were I think they won it 2 or 3 years ago, Company of the Year. It has changed dramatically. Shareholders now question the shareholders' meetings, the big PLC's corporate social responsibility policy. It's already been proven that graduates, the best graduates, one of the things they don't walk in and say, how much are you going to pay me? One of the big questions is, talk to me about your corporate social responsibility policy. And so I have seen that change over that period of time. And so I'm very supportive of that. Again, a voluntary scheme where you do things, you measure it, and you report on it, and you stand up and say, this is us. And so when the fair tax came out, and I would say through all that period, nobody ever mentioned tax. You know, I've sat at the main board meetings of BITC, I've been with all these people, all these big names. We never sat and said, we need to put tax on our list. We talked about all the other things we do, environmental issues and sustainability in other ways, but we never talked about tax. Then sort of Paul rings me up and says, Ben, there's something you ought to think about being involved in. And I thought, well, absolutely. We have wasted a lot of time here, because tax and the payment of tax, the right tax in the right place, as soon as you start to talk about it, it's hard not to see that isn't part of corporate social responsibility. I mean, how could it not be? As was said previously, we do, 10,000 colleagues use the roads, use the hospital, use the police. How can people defend an argument that says, oh, well, we pay our wages and we pay a bit of national insurance and therefore a bit of VAT and that's enough? I mean, it's such a poor argument. And so I was really very keen. And the other thing about it, we talk about the public, but the co-op is a membership organisation. I've got nearly 500,000 members, and they tell us what matters to them. They absolutely do tell. Anybody who's been associated with the co-op knows that of that 500,000, I have got a fair percentage of very vociferous members who tell us what matters to them. And our AGMs are not like a PLC managed arena. I wish they were. You know, they come along and I stand up in a place like this, well, a lot larger place like this, and they hit me with whatever questions can range from, you know, how can we get rid of nuclear weapons, through to what's the price of tomatoes in our shop, and I have to deal with that. But actually, in the middle of it, they do come along and question our ethical stance, and it became clear over a period of time, certainly from the questions that were starting to come through, that they were getting very agitated about tax. And they were already asking me, had already asked me from the floor of one of those meetings, what is our position on tax? So I knew when Paul gave me that call, actually it probably did me a huge favour, because it did allow me to go into this process and therefore stand up at our next AGM and say, I did hear your message, and in fact we have now signed up for this fair tax. It wasn't easy for us. It should have been easy. It was one of those things. I just throw it at the accountant and say, I'm assuming this will be all right, won't it? You know, of course, we're co-op. It's bound to be simple. Just do it, you know. I used to be an accountant, so I love doing that to other accountants now. But it didn't. You know, we had to go through, and we didn't get full marks, and we've had to go through, and actually we've been recredited this year. So it's been a really good exercise for us. We're also enthusiastic from a business point of view. One of the things that PITC taught me is you need to measure it. You need to do things for a business purpose. You need to be able to justify it. You can't. I do run a big business. We are a co-op, but I run a big business, and I have to be responsible about what we do and where we put our energy. So, is there an added business benefit? And these things come together. All that negative PR that people like Starbucks got. The fact that there was one of our friends in the energy industry got absolutely pilloried for their practices. All of a sudden, my cooperative energy business got quite a large influx of new customers, and because we're smaller, we've only got 250,000 customers at the moment. But watch this space. We talk to our customers more. They're ringing us up. We want to sign up, and it was very clear. One of the messages coming for us was that we just had enough of them. We come to the co-op because we think you will be ethical. And tax was at the heart of that. So even if you were a cynic, and accountants can be very cynical at times, the business case for doing the right thing when it's very clear where the public opinion is moving, particularly if you're in services like energy, like healthcare, like funeral, you do need to make sure that you can defend your position. And so last February we were one of the pioneers. I'd forgotten there was only 3 of us at the time. I went to a similar sort of gathering, well, a smaller gathering than this, and there were 3 of us that signed up. And I didn't actually ask how many others there were. I actually expected a lot more people to have come in from the start, but there were 3 of us, and I didn't think it was brave at the time. I just thought this is okay, but delighted to have been in the first tranche. We have been through the second phase, and I'm pleased to say we've actually increased our score, and so things are moving forward, and now it is just the way that we do things. I suspect as we all move forward, the conditions we're going to have to match are going to get stronger, and I'm delighted with that. So we, Midcounties, we absolutely do believe that cooperatives should take a lead on fair tax. I'm really pleased East of England have now come in to join us. The phone co-op has rebranded and has been with us from the start. And in fact, at last year's Congress, which is this gathering of all the co-ops once a year, we stood up and talked about this fair tax to encourage people to join it. Because it's not necessarily they're reticent, it's just they haven't heard about it. So we have to all talk about it wherever we can and say to them, why wouldn't the co-op be involved in this? How can anybody put an argument together that said we, who are owned by the ordinary people in the street, are not prepared to pay our tax? Where is the argument around that? And again, I have been through that professional training and done my tax training practice and all this and that tax minimisation exercise and head spinning with all that sorts of stuff. But actually, when you get out into the real world, understanding that the co-op is at the heart of the community and therefore should pay its fair share is an unavoidable statement. And so that's where I'm very supportive of this. The other reason I think that we were enthusiastic is I saw BITC grow. I've also seen fair trade grow. One of the things that I've enjoyed most over my time in the co-op is seeing how fair trade has grown. Again, when we took fair trade on, there was a premium on it. We saw that the co-op was absolutely at the forefront of it. We were the only place you could get fair trade on in any scale. There were some small niche retailers who kept it, but we launched fair trade. The whole movement, not we Midcounties, we were part of it. And we had to charge a premium. Big switch was when we said no, we're going to put it at the same price as the other product, and we took the hit on the profit, and then things really did start to move forward. So we made a conscious decision to be in fair trade, and we've seen that move forward in the way that it has now. And occasionally people say to me, "Are you disappointed now Sainsbury's are the largest fair trade retailer in the UK?" No. Why would I be disappointed? Because actually we went into it to benefit the people in the third world. The fact that now the more people are getting benefit from it, this isn't about we're bigger than you. This is about have we been part of a movement that has benefited real people in a in the third world and those suppliers, and yes, we have. In fact, other people have jumped on the bandwagon, delighted. And if that happens we come along next year and there are hundreds of fair tax mark people and we don't get a mention, I'll just sit there and I'll be delighted, because it's worked then, hasn't it? It's not about you can be a leader in the thought process, but you have to accept that if this becomes as we want it to be, the big businesses will come in and they may well dwarf our messages. But am I bothered? No, because actually we will have achieved what we've tried to do. We are part of the community, so it's no surprise that actually we do actually put quite a lot of our profits back into the community anyway. But I mean, in our own tax, we do pay quite a lot of tax. 9.3% of our pre-tax profit, which was about 8.6 million in the last 5 years. And we also put, because we've been a membership organisation, a significant amount back into the community. So over the same period, we made 13.6. We made contributions to community groups of 13.6 million. So we are not. We are a big business, but we're a big co-op rather than a big PLC. But so we paid our tax, but equally we paid into the community. And if you put the two together, because both of them are contributions to the community, aren't they? They are, yes, genuine grants to organisations who need support, but also the corporation tax we see as a contribution towards helping to support our local communities. And that's really quite fundamental. We are of the people, and therefore why shouldn't we do it? And so this thing, paying the right amount of tax at the right time in the right place, I mean, it's a great sort of strap line, isn't it? But actually it works. Sometimes these marketeers come up with this stuff and you think, great, it's a bit, but actually it works quite well. And so we are supportive of the mark. Delighted to hear James in the first thing talking about how they're going to tighten things up. I look forward to seeing how they're going to get the other £4 billion. My concern was that they would leave that alone, and instead of 12 billion that they haven't yet identified, they go for 16 billion or whatever. But if business is going to have to pay its fair share, then I'll be delighted. Recently, we've tried to take this on a bit further. We've joined the tax dodging bill campaign. That's not a name that rolls off the tongue, is it? The tax dodging bill campaign. I suspect by the time, if that ever does get to Parliament, it will be called something different. But gets the message over, doesn't it? Do you want to sign up for the tax dodging bill? Well, why wouldn't you? And so we're still out there, and we're still been supportive. So to conclude, and there are always the magic words in any presentation, aren't they? I think we've made great progress in the last 18 months, far more than I ever could have imagined. And I don't want to say Paul said, but he has laid it out, hasn't he? We have made, those who have been round a bit and been involved in this sort of stuff, this is quite amazing, the progress we've got. And if we now have a government on our side, then we might see some real stuff. So I used to finish these sorts of speeches talking about how peculiar I used to think it was that we would pay more tax than combined tax of Amazon, Facebook and Yahoo. But fortunately, Amazon now has made its announcement, and I look forward to the others doing the same. And then I'll have to find a new end to my speech. But thank you very much. I've enjoyed it today, and wish everybody who's in this the best of luck.